I tricked my neglectful father into paying for my entire college tuition, and when he found out, he was not happy. He tried to sue me, and I lost thousands in the process, but he lost everything. My mom and dad are addicted to my younger sister, and it's getting weird. When I got accepted to a top-tier university, my dad actually said the words, "You need to attend community college. We don't want your sister feeling jealous about your success now, do we?" Can you believe that crap? But I took a deep breath, kept my voice calm, and said, "Of course I'll go to community college, Dad, but only if I can live in student college." And, like the R-worded idiot he is, he agreed, because what he didn't know was that I'd already secured a massive scholarship to Princeton, and I had no intention of going somewhere else. So for the last 3 years, my parents have been sending money for community college that I've been using to supplement my scholarship. And because of their obsession with my sister, I got away with it. All I had to do was visit during the holidays and pick up the phone once in a while. LOL. But then my master plan was ripped to shreds, because out of nowhere, my dad called demanding I come home for my sister's wedding preparations. He wants me there for the whole week beforehand to play happy family, as if he hasn't been ignoring my existence for years. I didn't even have time to say anything, because after just a few seconds of silence, he threatened to stop paying for my education if I didn't show up. I laughed. I couldn't help myself. It was a deep-belly, earth-shattering guffaw. That's when I finally told him I graduated a year ago and now earn 10 times what he makes. The silence on the other end was priceless. For some background, every achievement of mine has always been ignored, while my younger sister, Grace, was praised for the smallest things. I still remember bringing home straight A's in 4th grade. My mom barely glanced at my report card before going back to fawning over Grace's finger painting that got hung on the refrigerator. My perfect grades ended up in a drawer somewhere. "Mom, look, I got all A's again," I said, proudly holding out my report card. Mom took it without looking up from Grace's artwork. "That's nice, Mike. Put it on the counter." "But Mom, my teacher said I'm the only student who got perfect scores in math this year." "Okay. Hey, look at this beautiful butterfly Grace painted. Isn't she talented? We should frame this one." I was just expected to go along with whatever Grace wanted. My needs and preferences never mattered. They treated me like a second-class citizen in my own home. "Can we get pizza tonight?" I'd ask on a Friday. "No, Grace wants Chinese food," Mom would reply without hesitation. "But we had Chinese last week because Grace wanted it." "I don't even like Chinese food." Dad would give me that look, the one that said I was being difficult. "Just pick something off the menu. Don't make this into a big deal." Every single time, without fail, Grace's preferences trumped mine. Family movie night, whatever Grace wanted to watch. Family vacation, wherever Grace wanted to go. Holiday meals, whatever Grace liked to eat. By high school, I'd stopped expressing preferences altogether. What was the point? If I said I wanted something, and Grace wanted something else, I'd lose and just look like the difficult child for speaking up. My 16th birthday fell on the same weekend as one of Grace's dance competitions in another state. Rather than delay the trip or let me stay home, they dragged me along and celebrated my birthday in the hotel lobby with a store-bought cupcake after Grace's performance. My gifts, a gas station keychain, and a card they'd clearly bought at the last minute. "Sorry we couldn't do more," Mom said, not sounding sorry at all. "But this competition is really important for Grace's future." Meanwhile, for Grace's birthdays, they threw elaborate parties, invited dozens of guests, and spent weeks planning the perfect celebration. For her sweet 16, they rented out an entire venue and hired a live band. The contrast couldn't have been more stark. The scholarship that changed everything high school was a blur of being overlooked and undervalued. I threw myself into academics because it was the one area where my success didn't threaten Grace. She had no interest in school, preferring to coast by on C's while focusing on dance and popularity. My straight A's and academic achievements flew under the radar, which was fine by me. I was building my escape plan. When college application time came around, I secretly applied everywhere and landed a full scholarship at one of the most prestigious universities in the country, several states away. I was ecstatic. Finally, a chance to escape. The day the acceptance letter arrived, I couldn't contain my excitement. For once, I thought, surely they'd be proud of me. A full ride to an Ivy League school? That had to warrant some recognition. I waited until dinner, where we were all seated together. A rare occurrence unless it was about celebrating something Grace had done. "I have some news," I said during a pause in conversation. My heart was racing. "I got accepted to Princeton, with a full scholarship." There was a moment of silence. Mom and Dad exchanged a look. "Princeton?" Mom repeated, her fork hovering midair. "That's far away." Dad cleared his throat. "Mike, we always planned for you to attend the community college here. It's practical, and you can live at home." "But this is Princeton," I emphasized. "With a full scholarship. I won't have to pay anything." "It's still too far," Mom insisted. "We need you here." I looked at Grace, who was suddenly very interested in her food. "Why? What does it matter where I go to school?" Dad's face hardened. "You need to turn it down," he said flatly. "Grace doesn't do as well academically, and it would crush her if you went to a better school. Plus, we need you close to home." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You want me to give up a full scholarship to an Ivy League university because Grace might feel bad about it? Don't be selfish, Mike," Mom snapped. "Family comes first. Always." "What about my future?" I asked. my voice cracking slightly. The community college has perfectly good programs, Dad said dismissively, and will help you with tuition. Grace finally looked up, a small, satisfied smile playing on her lips. It's better if we all stay together, she said sweetly. I'd miss you too much, Mike. That's when I developed my plan. I told them I'd attend the local community college if I could live in the dorms. They agreed immediately, probably happy to have me under control while still giving Grace all their attention. You'll thank us later, Dad said, patting my shoulder. This is what's best for everyone. What they didn't know was that my scholarship program covered 70% of expenses, and I used the money they sent for community college to cover the rest. The best part? My program was accelerated, so I graduated in 2 years while they thought I was still studying. Moving day was surreal. Mom and Dad helped me pack up the car, thinking I was headed to the local community college dorms just 20 minutes away. Call us when you're settled, Mom said absently, already checking her watch. We need to get back for Grace's rehearsal. Sure thing, I replied, knowing that in a few hours I'd be crossing state lines. I drove to the community college, waited until they left, then got back in my car and made the 8-hour drive to Princeton. The freedom I felt crossing that state line was indescribable. For the first time in my life, I could breathe. The campus was everything I'd dreamed of. Ivy-covered buildings, brilliant professors, and peers who valued intelligence and ambition. No one knew me as Grace's brother, or the quiet kid. I could finally be myself. Maintaining the illusion was surprisingly easy. During holiday breaks, I'd fly home for the bare minimum time required, making excuses about study groups and part-time jobs. My parents barely noticed how little they saw me. On the rare occasions they called, I'd talk vaguely about classes and campus life, and they'd quickly shift the conversation to Grace's latest achievements. That's nice, Mike. Did we tell you Grace got the lead in her dance showcase? During my second year, I landed an incredible internship at a tech company that later offered me a full-time position. By the time my accelerated program ended, I had a job waiting for me with a starting salary that made my eyes water. I landed an amazing job right after graduation with a 6-figure salary. I've been working there for over a year now, with a promotion on the horizon. Meanwhile, my parents still think I'm a struggling student at the local community college. My apartment isn't fancy, but it's mine. I've made friends who value me for who I am. I've even started dating someone who actually listens when I speak and considers my preferences important. This taste of normal human interaction made the toxicity of my family dynamics even more apparent. The wedding drama unfolds. For over a year, I maintained minimal contact with my family, occasional texts, rare phone calls, and fabricated excuses for missing holidays. They never pushed back much. Grace's life always provided enough drama and excitement to distract them. So yesterday, Dad calls demanding I come home for Grace's wedding preparations. They need me there to help out and be part of the family photos. For a split second, I felt a twinge of hope. Maybe they finally wanted to include me as part of the family? Mike, you need to come home next week, Dad said without even a hello. The wedding's in 2 weeks, and we need all hands on deck. Dad, I have finals coming up. I can't just drop everything. This is your sister's wedding, he said, his voice rising. Finals happen every semester. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event for Grace. I didn't even know she was engaged, I replied honestly. There was a pause. We told you at Christmas. They hadn't. I hadn't been home for Christmas in 2 years, making excuses about work and study. They'd never noticed. Look, I'll try to make it for the actual wedding, but I can't be there for a whole week of preparations. Unacceptable, Dad snapped. Grace wants a family photo shoot, bridal shower, rehearsal dinner, the works. She specifically asked for you to be in the photos. What will people think if her only brother isn't there for everything? But then reality hit. They just needed me there as a prop for their perfect family image. When I texted that I couldn't make it, my mom started the guilt trips. Don't you want to be there for your sister's special day? And family is forever, Mike. How can you be so selfish? Mom texted. After everything we've done for you. Another message followed. Grace is crying. She says you're ruining her wedding by not being here. How could you hurt your sister like this? When that didn't work, my dad called with threats. If you don't show up, we're cutting off your college money. We can't have people asking where our son is. That's when I finally snapped. Go ahead and stop paying. I don't need your money. What did you just say to me? Dad's voice was dangerously low. I said I don't need your money. I haven't for a long time. Listen here, you ungrateful brat. We've supported you through college, put a roof over your head, fed you. I laughed, which only made him angrier. You think this is funny? We'll see how funny it is when you're kicked out of school with no degree and no future. We're withdrawing you from classes tomorrow. Go ahead, I said calmly. Try it. Dad went ballistic, threatening to withdraw me from the community college to teach me a lesson. I just laughed. The next day, he called back absolutely furious after discovering I was never enrolled there. What the hell is going on? He shouted. The college has no record of you. Where's our money gone? Have you been scamming us? I finally told him everything, that I graduated a year ago, that I make more money than he does, and that I've been living in another state. The shock in his voice was priceless. What? You've been at Princeton this whole time? With what money? The full scholarship you made me turn down. Except I didn't turn it down. That's impossible, he sputtered. You've been home for holidays, I flew in for brief visits. You were all too focused on Grace to notice how little I was actually there. And now? Where are you? What are you doing? I graduated last year. I work for a tech company. I make 6 figures, Dad. More than you ever have. The silence that followed was deafening. Why? He finally asked, his voice smaller. Why would you lie to us for years? Because you never gave me a choice. You were willing to sacrifice my future to protect Grace's feelings. So I did what I had to do. You need to come home. Now we need to discuss this as a family. No, I said simply. I don't need to do anything. I'm not coming to the wedding, and I'm not pretending to be part of a family that never valued me. I hung up, my hands shaking but my resolve firm. The spectacular fallout. Over the next few days, my phone exploded with calls and texts from family members I hadn't heard from in years. Apparently, Dad and Mom had spun some tale about me having a mental breakdown and abandoning the family right before Grace's wedding. Turns out, Grace's wedding was a complete disaster. Her fiancé was a con artist who convinced my parents and sister to invest their savings in some sketchy scheme before disappearing with all their money. My dad's business was already failing, and now they're about to lose their house too. My cousin Jake, the only relative I still occasionally spoke with, filled me in on the details. Dude, it's a total shit show, he told me. This guy, Chad or whatever, he convinced your parents to invest like $100,000 in some cryptocurrency thing. Said it would triple in value before the wedding. They even took out a second mortgage. Are you serious? I couldn't believe they'd be that gullible. Dead serious. Your dad's business has been tanking for years. You didn't know? The economy hit him hard, but he kept up appearances for Grace's sake. They were banking on this investment to save everything. Instead, Chad disappeared 3 days before the wedding with all their cash. No one's heard from him since. What about Grace? I asked, curious despite myself. Jake snorted, playing the victim of course, crying about how she's heartbroken and betrayed. Meanwhile, your parents are facing bankruptcy. I felt a momentary pang of sympathy, quickly replaced by bitter satisfaction. The golden child's choices had finally caught up with them all. Suddenly my phone was blowing up with calls from blocked numbers. My mom got through once, sobbing about how much she misses me and needs her son back. My aunt filled me in on the real story. They're desperate for my money now that they're broke. Mike, baby, we've made mistakes. Mom wept into the phone. We miss you so much. Please come home. Your family needs you. You never needed me before, I replied coldly. You never even noticed I was gone. That's not true. We've always loved you. You're our son. What you mean is, you need my money now that Grace's fiancé scammed you. The sudden silence confirmed everything. How did you know about that? She finally asked. Word gets around. Goodbye, Mom. I blocked her number. The audacity of these people. They even showed up at my apartment, somehow found my address, begging for help, talking about family responsibility. I slammed the door in their faces. The knock came at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. I opened the door to find my parents standing there, looking haggard and desperate. Mike, Dad said, forcing a smile. Son, can we come in? How did you find my address? I demanded. That doesn't matter, Mom said, already trying to push past me into the apartment. We're here now, as a family. I blocked the doorway. Number, you don't get to show up unannounced after everything and pretend we're one big happy family. We made mistakes, Dad admitted, his voice strained. But family stands together in times of crisis. We need your help, son. Let me guess. You need money. They exchanged glances. It's not just about money, Mom insisted, though her eyes said otherwise. We want to reconnect. Start fresh. Funny how your desire to reconnect coincides perfectly with you losing all your money, I observed. Let me be clear. I'm not giving you a cent. Dad's face hardened. After everything we've done for you, what exactly have you done for me? Ignore me my entire life? Force me to give up opportunities for Grace's comfort? Treat me like I didn't matter? We paid for your college, Dad shouted. No, you sent money for a community college I never attended. I paid for my own education with my scholarship and hard work. You're really going to turn your back on your family when we need you? Mom's voice rose shrilly. What about your responsibility to us? Responsibility works both ways, I said, starting to close the door. Don't come back. Then Grace appeared, crying about how she misses her big brother and how our parents are blaming her for everything. Same result. Door closed. Threat to call the police if any of them return. A few days later, Grace showed up alone, her eyes red from crying, wearing clothes far less flashy than her usual style. Mike, please, she begged. Just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I let her in. They're blaming me for everything, she sobbed, collapsing onto my couch. Dad keeps saying if I hadn't been so insistent on a big wedding, if I'd checked Chad's background better. Mom barely speaks to me anymore. Sounds familiar, I said without sympathy. Being blamed for things beyond your control, having your parents withdraw their affection. Welcome to my entire childhood. Grace looked up, genuinely confused. What are you talking about? They adored you. I laughed bitterly. Are you serious right now? My entire life was spent in your shadow. Nothing I did mattered because it was always about you. That's not true. They always talked about how smart you were, how independent, because they didn't have to deal with me. They put all their energy into you. Do you know they made me turn down a full scholarship because they didn't want me to outshine you? Her face paled. I didn't know. Of course you didn't. You never had to think about anyone but yourself. She was quiet for a moment. They want your money, she finally admitted. That's why they're trying so hard to find you. Dad's business is bankrupt. The house is being foreclosed on, and they think you're their safety net. And what do you want, Grace? She looked down at her hands. I want what I've always had, someone to bail me out. But I'm starting to realize nobody's coming to save me this time. I showed her to the door. For once, we're in the same boat. Figure it out on your own, like I had to. I do sometimes feel a void where family should be, but I refuse to be their ATM after being ignored my entire life. The golden child brought them down, and now they want the forgotten son to bail them out? Not happening. Sometimes at night, I wonder what it would have been like to have a real family, one that celebrated my achievements, supported my dreams, and treated me with basic respect and consideration. There's a hollow space inside me where that connection should be. But then I remember how they made me feel for 20+ years, invisible, unimportant, a background character in the Grace show, and my resolve strengthens. I've built my own life now, with people who actually see me. Last week, I received a formal letter from a lawyer. My parents are claiming I defrauded them by taking money intended for community college. I had my own lawyer respond with a simple cease and desist letter, pointing out that I have years of documented emotional abuse and neglect that would make fascinating reading for a courtroom. They backed down immediately. What would you do if the people who barely acknowledged your existence for years suddenly wanted you to play happy family and fix their problems?